Good morning, expats. Welcome to the channel if you're new. If you've been here before, then welcome back. As you can see, I have left the green fields of the countryside, and I'm back in the big city. Right today, and for the next little bit, I am going to be in Nanjing. Sorry, I'm trying not to get run over by these scooters. It can be a little bit hazardous, even on the sidewalk in China, as you can see, because you tend to share it with so many other surprising vehicles. But anyway, today I'm going to be talking about Chinese netizens. So, stick around.
我种下一颗种子，终于长出了果实。今天是个伟大日子，摘下星星送给你，摘下月亮送给你，让它每天为你升起。变成蜡烛燃烧自己，只为照亮你。把我一切都献给你，只要你欢喜。你让我每个明天都变得有意义。生命虽短，爱你永远不离不弃。你是我。
So the Chinese netizen. Perhaps some of you are familiar with this phrase, or this, what a Chinese netizen is. For those of you who have just heard that for the first time, if you ever make a post on Twitter, for example, that goes against anything to do with China, and you check the next day after you've gone to sleep, you wake up and you have 50 replies to your post, and you check and it's a bunch of half-English angry comments about how bad America is or something like that. Those people replying to you are most likely Chinese netizens. They come out of the woodwork whenever you say something negative about China on the internet, on any social media platform, be it Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, even YouTube. It's kind of amusing sometimes to hear the things that they say, as I will point out in the video today. Well, before I get too far into this today, I think I better get some caffeine in my system, as always. And I've spotted a convenience store which should serve nicely as a place to acquire said caffeine. Ooh, almost dropped that one. All right, got my caffeine. I was recording a little bit there, but I guess the lady in there doesn't like me recording inside her convenience store, even though it's not hers. I bet she's a Chinese netizen. Probably one of the people that posted negative things about my negative post about China. Yeah. Well, I do have to comment on one very strange thing for me walking around in Nanjing, which is usually a very international city. I have not seen any other foreigners the entire time I've been here, which is very strange. Well, I guess it shouldn't be very surprising to me, knowing how it's impossible for foreigners to come in for the most part, so I'm probably one of the few that are actually here at the moment. I'm sure there's plenty of them that are here that just hadn't left, but yeah. Not many foreigners, in fact. Not many familiar faces. Just me. I also wanted to point out, I don't know if you've noticed, there's all these little tents at the entrance of all of the communities here. Supposedly life has gone back to normal and the whole virus thing is under control. But here they still have all these tents and they're checking people and not letting anybody in unless they actually are living there. So yeah. There's that. I guess they're still scared of the virus, although from what I'm seeing in the United States, and I'm no expert or anything, but based on the number of infected people, and I know there's a lot of deaths, but based on the number of infected versus the number of deaths, I'd say probably not something you have to worry all that much about, unless of course you have underlying health conditions. So you can take that or leave it. I'm not a doctor. I'm not a health expert, but that's how I see it anyway. I'm walking around with a mask, of course, but well, the real reason that I'm wearing this mask is because if I didn't wear this mask, other people would have a fit. As a foreigner, I'm sure that I would get myself into trouble. Speaking of which, I actually had I tried to record out here yesterday, and I was just recording some shots of like the road and traffic and that sort of thing. I was going along, and the next thing I knew, there were 3 soldiers behind me, and they demanded to look on my camera, and they deleted a bunch of footage. It turns out I was recording in an area where they have a bunch of like military office buildings or something. Yeah, they weren't mean to me or anything. They were actually pretty nice, but yeah, they made me delete a bunch of my footage. I was actually worried when they wanted to look at the camera they were going to take it away or smash it or something, but luckily they were nice. They didn't do that. They just deleted some of my stuff. I guess you have to be careful what streets you record, huh? It might be the military stuff, you know. So back to the Chinese netizens. Yes, if you get online, maybe you should give this a try. Well, maybe don't give this a try because you'll get harassed by them. Do a search for the Global Times. Oh, I guess you don't have to make a post to actually see this stuff. Go ahead and do a search on Twitter for the Global Times if you've got Twitter. It's a Chinese propaganda outlet. And look through the comments. You'll see a lot of really angry comments from people around the world against China. And then you'll see the replies to them from the Chinese netizens breaking through the Chinese firewall, or the Great Firewall, or whatever you want to call it, so that they can, I guess, defend China's honor. I don't know. I'm not sure how they see it, what they're doing, but some of them are apparently actually paid. They call them the 50-cent army. They get 50 Chinese cents, 50 wumao or whatever, for all of their posts. Usually college students or something like that. Some of them are really just very ultra-nationalistic zealots, I guess you could say. I've had a run-in with a few of those. As you can see, later on I'll show you guys some of the tweets that I got. Very entertaining in a way. I don't take any of them serious because, well, why should I? Some of them I don't even know if they're actually Chinese people. Some of them are just too outrageous. The one that I got most recently, where they sent a huge string of things to me about Americans and feces, and we need more feces and all this other stuff. I sent something back in Chinese, and it's like they didn't know what to do, you know? And then they never have actually mentioned any of what I said in Chinese, which leads me to believe that maybe they can't actually read Chinese and it's not actually a Chinese person. It's just somebody out there pretending to be a Chinese person to stir up trouble. I don't know. Or just somebody just having fun. In either case, they never said anything about it, and I eventually just blocked them because, well, I don't like getting, you know, 20 replies to my tweets every hour that's just a bunch of stuff about eating feces. And it was misspelled. That was fun. Yeah. Some of the people are a little more reasonable. I've talked to some of them, and maybe they just think that all Americans are like that. They just, you know, go berserk the same way that they do. You know, Americans get the same thing. Somebody insults the pride of America, and the next thing you know, well, your country sucks because America's the best. They do the same thing. And if you talk to them, some of them are pretty reasonable. Sorry guys, I'm in a construction zone, so it's a little loud. Maybe I'll wait before recording more. Otherwise, you're not going to hear anything I say. Oh, and I just realized these buildings behind me, they're the ones that got me in trouble the other day. Yesterday when I tried to record and the soldiers came out. Yeah, I was just trying to record these rooftops over here because I thought they might look interesting to all of you. They're, you know, Chinese traditional architecture. But apparently these are all occupied by the People's Liberation Army, so I guess I'm not supposed to record that. I don't know. Well, maybe these ones are different because there's no soldiers coming out to look on my camera or anything. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna chance it. If nobody comes out to make me delete it, then, well, I'm putting it on YouTube. I don't care. I don't see how that building over there is any sort of top secret or sensitive military installation. Well, maybe it is inside, but all I really care about is the roof because it looks cool. I'm not really interested in videoing or photographing any Chinese military secrets, so they don't have to worry about me. So the other thing that these Chinese netizens try to do is if they see anyone saying something negative about China, for example, you've probably heard of the YouTube channel China Uncensored, they put a lot of effort into trying to get those channels taken down. So they'll report them, they'll say there's something in there that's inappropriate, whatever they can do. And a sure sign that one of these people is part of that 50-cent army or the Chinese netizens, check their account when they start, you know, sending all this negative stuff. It's probably a month, maybe 2 months old, maybe even less. They're always brand new, and the only thing they have on there is retweets of like Chinese propaganda, Global Times, Xinhua, People's Daily, that sort of stuff. Easy way to find out that that's what you're looking at. And then just to dismiss it like, okay, all right, whatever. Block them, report them. They're not supposed to be on there anyway, you know? Chinese people aren't supposed to be on Western social media stuff, I thought. Although I welcome them, yeah, get on, you know? Get on the real internet. Find out the real truth about the world. Not just living in a bubble. That's the way I look at it. I don't want to live in a bubble. Now for me, I actually get it from both sides. Many of you are familiar with my my wonderful hat that I wear with the red star. I honestly just got it as a joke from a tourist shop in Beijing a long time ago. I think it looks good on me anyway. Maybe I'd be a good-looking communist. Probably not. I'd be a really, really ugly communist. But I'm not a communist in either case. But that doesn't stop. Anytime I have a video that actually gets some amount of views, people come out of the woodwork telling me how I'm not an American anymore and all this stuff. That's not what expat means. It doesn't mean I'm no longer patriotic. Of course I'm an American, and of course I care about my country and I'm proud of my country. But yeah, so I get attacked from these Chinese netizens sometimes, and I get attacked from Americans who say I'm no longer an American. I just can't win. I'm the enemy of all. Some of you are probably wondering what in the world I'm doing in Nanjing. Yeah, I know that guy's looking at me. Well, I'm here because my son, we just found out, has a medical condition, and we did our research, and it turns out one of the best hospitals for dealing with this sort of thing in the entire country is here in Nanjing. So assuming that I'm here over the next year, I'm probably going to be spending a lot of time here in Nanjing off and on over the next year while my son goes through treatments. It's a bit of a hard thing to learn, but he's going to be okay. But yeah, I'm going to be spending a good amount of time here, so between Fujian province and Nanjing, I guess you guys will get to see a lot of this place. Maybe I can tell you a bit about the history. I can make another video going into more detail, but basically this used to be the capital of China up until 1949, when the nationalists fled to Taiwan. Well, I say the capital of China. It was the capital of the Republic of China, which now has a capital in Taipei. But yes, this was the capital of China before communism. It has also been the capital of several dynasties, including the last dynasty that was actually pan-Chinese. That's right, the last dynasty to rule China, the Qing dynasty, was actually Manchurian, although they became very Chinese over time. But oh goodness, now I think it was the Ming dynasty was before the Qing dynasty. I'm probably getting it all mixed up. It's been a while since I've had a class about Chinese history, but yeah, this was their capital as well. Believe it or not, some of the areas out there in the countryside that I spend time, very near there, the Ming had almost made that the capital of China, until the guy that was the emperor was convinced by his advisors that it was a bad location strategically, so he moved it to Nanjing. But it is a very historic city, and it's a very beautiful place. When everything can finally go back to normal, whenever that is, I highly recommend coming to visit. It's a beautiful place, lots of history, lots of old things to see, temples, buildings. And it's a little quieter than some of the other big cities like Shanghai and Beijing. I think I mentioned that a long time ago in a video as I drove past to Nanjing. Now I'm actually in Nanjing. So, since I'm going to be spending so much time here, I'll be able to show you guys all the things that you'll be able to see if you wanted to come here, while talking about all of my normal stuff, whatever that happens to be, as the world descends further and further into chaos and fantasy land. Yeah, I think it almost feels like with this virus and talk of war and all this stuff, it's like we're the real world is merging with some kind of strange sci-fi fantasy world. But I digress. Yes, Nanjing, city of a lot of history. You know, speaking of history and Nanjing, if you've ever, well, most people probably don't realize this if you're living in the United States, unless you've had some experience with China, they tend to really dislike the Japanese. And this city is at the heart of the reason why they have that hatred of the Japanese. This is the place where the Nanjing massacre occurred. I highly recommend a documentary film. Well, it's kind of a documentary film. It's more of a reenactment as they talk about what happened. It's called The Rape of Nanjing. And yeah, you can find all of the history of just what the Japanese did when they invaded during World War II, what they did to the Chinese people. I believe there's a museum here about it. One of these days I'll have to go there. I don't think they'll probably allow me to record in there, but if you do come to visit, also highly recommended. Yeah, check out that documentary. It's probably online somewhere. The Rape of Nanking. It's either The Rape of Nanking or The Rape of Nanjing. Of course, today we call it Nanjing. Back then, I believe the romanization version of the name of the city was Nanking. But in either case, it's this place, this city. And I won't get into it, but they did some pretty awful things out here. It's a very interesting thing that I've noticed in all of my time in China. If you visit the parks in some of the big cities like Beijing or here in Nanjing or Shanghai during nice days, you'll find old people out in the park with birds. They seem to keep little birds, and they just, for whatever reason, bring them out to the park. And a lot of times you'll see them hanging them on the trees or whatever in their little bird cages. I'm not sure what the purpose is of that. Maybe just because it's fun to have a pet bird, but yeah, it's something you can see if you come to the parks here. Like I said, on a nice day, you'll see a bunch of old people with little birds. And I've probably rambled on enough for this video, so I'm gonna go ahead and end it here. If you enjoyed it, if you want to see more videos about life in China and abroad, then go ahead and subscribe to the channel, put a like on the video, share it with anybody you think would be interested, and I guess I will see you guys in the next one.